Okay. Okay. So for my international subject, I'd like to talk about homosexuality, just because it is something that is applicable in all parts of the world. America is pretty sensitive to it right now, but England, for example, is pretty like, it happens. But then other parts of the world, they're even more sensitive to it than we are in America. So I think it's just something that we could talk about, that as a Christian girl, how I'm supposed to react to this type of thing, what I'm supposed to do when encounter these types of situations. This topic is different than racial civil rights because we have specific things in the Bible that say that it's wrong. So it's really hard to talk about with people. I took a class and we talked about this, how we're supposed to react, and so I think that I have something to say about it. But as a Christian, I just don't know how to react when I'm proposed with it. So I'd like to discuss what I think. So the argument is really, if you put it in simplest terms, is it biology or is it environment? The people who think it's biology say, I was born this way, like I can't change myself, this is who I am. And then the environment people think, well, you must have been sexually abused as a child. Something must have been wrong in your childhood, something must be wrong now to make you this way. And I think the truth is that we live in a fallen world, and that maybe it's a mixture of both. Like I talked about in my last speech, there is Down syndrome, there's natural disasters, there's things in the world that happen that God can't change. And so maybe there is, a way that someone could have been born a certain way, and that doesn't necessarily, and I'm not comparing it to a disease or a natural disaster, but it's just that it's possible that is just something that happens in people, the same way that I might have a need to lie to my parents. It's just something that is part of me. Also, people think God hates the homosexuals, and I don't see that God ever says that ever. He actually, in the Old Testament, Genesis, in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah in Genesis, it's one that all of us are kind of, when God takes away the whole city. And before he says that, the two angels arrive in Sodom, and they're beautiful, and their men surround the house, and they want to have sex with them. That's what it says in Genesis 19, 1 through 11. And then in Leviticus, it says, do not lie with the man as one lies with a woman. That is detestable. And again in Leviticus, it says, if a man lies with a man as one lies with a woman, both of them has done what is detestable. They must be put to death. Their blood must be on their own hands. And then in Judges, it says, wicked men of the city surround the house. They want him to bring out the man so that they can have sex with him, willing to trade a concubine and a virgin daughter if they will leave. So in Judges, a man is willing to trade his daughter so that they won't have sex with the man. That's how terrible it is, for them. I can't imagine my dad being like, don't have sex with my, man friends. Here's my daughter, So it's just an interesting way to think about it. But in the New Testament, he says things like, in Romans, they exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural relations for an unnatural one. In the same way, the men also abandoned their natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed indecent acts with other men. And then the one that's most famous that people talk about most is 1 Corinthians 6:9, which is those who will not inherit the kingdom of heaven, the sexually immoral, the idolaters, the adulterers, the male prostitutes, homosexual offenders, thieves, greedy, drunkards, and slanderers. So all those things are kind of put together. So what do we do when we read all those Bible verses? How do we react? The starting point is, are you willing to buy into relying on God and his plan for your life? Are you willing to let God be the number one thing in your life and let him have control over all of it? Are you willing to submit and to be uncomfortable? You have to seek to understand them before you seek to be understood. If you're saying, well, this is what I hear, this is what I know, if you're not looking at them as a person and trying to understand them as a person. So before you start being like, well, this is me, I know this, you have to be, you're a person first. What do I not understand about you? What do you believe? Don't use the term homosexual. Homosexual comes from a word in the Bible, and the Bible equals Christian, and Christian equals anti-gay, and anti-gay equals anti-meat. If I'm gay, then you're saying homosexual, and that's automatically what I get from it. So taking that term out of your vocabulary, it said in a survey by USC in 2011 that people prefer to be just called gay. They don't want any special language for it. And you can use the phrase love the sin and hate the sinner. Other way around. Hate the sin, love the sinner. You can use that, but if you say it, it sounds like you're all holier than thou on them. So you can live by it, but don't say it. And don't allow themselves to only be defined by their sexuality. So if I let them say, I'm a homosexual, I'm gay, that's all I am, then that's me saying, well, I'm a heterosexual, that's all that I am. So you can't let someone define themselves by that. And you do not put yourself in the role of judge and jury regarding the internal condition. The Holy Spirit convicts, God judges, and it is only our job to love. God didn't say, I think you have to take care of your own heart. Have you loved each of them as much as you could? Have you given? Have you helped? Have you done everything you could to love them? And I think that that's all you can do. You really have to show the love of Christ. If you condemn them or say anything, then you're not living by the way that Christ called us to, because Christ never called us to put down a person. He called us to, pick up our own stones and put down our stones if we didn't have anything, if we had something that we. God called us to put this, to throw down our stones if we had nothing to use. The plank in the eye, what we're talking about. Yes. So we really have to just love, and I think that's the only thing we can do. And if we still have questions for God when we get up there, is if biology is an environment, that's something that we can ask God, because God's really the only one who it matters to. So we have to just do what we can to love, and I think that's all we can do.